call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. And folks, we are just one day away from the return, the unofficial return of Razorback basketball. That's right, prime time at the Palace, Bud Walton Arena, Friday night, 8 o'clock. It's almost here. Almost here. One more sleep, as they say. And remember, join us for a little Pod at the Palace pregame action over at Goat Lab Red at Oak Plaza on North Garland in Fayetteville on Friday. We're going to be going live about 6 o'clock, maybe a little bit before, talking ball, previewing all the festivities that are going to be going down over at Bud later in the evening. You can come hang out with us, sip on some signature brews like Tusk, Tusk Light, or Razorback, and take advantage of 25-cent wings while we're out there. That is a pretty good deal. You can't get much of anything for a quarter nowadays, so it's quite the deal to take advantage of. We'll see you there. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. Okay, can we just set the tone this morning with a short little clip from practice of the guys getting after it? Let's do that. We'll call it your vibe check today, presented by, well, Arkansas basketball.
Never let the moment take over you. You guys gonna play some big games. Put the work in now.
But we built our own legacy and left that 94 championship up there because we believed in each other.
We all master our role. You guys can learn to master your role and play for one another.
Trust the system, stick together, believe in it. Whatever Coach Cal preaching to y'all, man, stick with it. Just always remember what he's saying. Down the stretch, it'll come through.
Together on defense, no says 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4, 5, 6.
Come on. Woo! You fired up yet? You guys ready to go? I am, man. If you're not yet, just wait a few minutes because I got some things for you to talk about, but that was good to see. Trevor Brazile getting on that rim, Malik Ewing getting on the rim, Carter Knox getting on the rim, Malik Thomas getting on the rim. Beautiful. Beautiful, man. It feels good. Nice little touch, little English off the glass from Darius Acuff there. Man, oh man. Can't wait till Friday to see those boys out there in action. Okay, so John Calipari spoke today before practice. So several things from that I want to touch on and expand on. And we've got the latest recruiting updates for you today as well. Just a handful of things we'll get into at the end of the show. But I do want to start with what Cal had to say because, folks, I got to be honest here. This was a masterclass in how to handle a press conference. We've seen a lot of the opposite recently in Arkansas athletics, how to not handle a press conference. This was an A-plus job. They need to send this press conference to everybody else in the athletic department and say, watch this and be like that. And not all coaches are bad. A lot of them do a really good job, but you know, you're picking up what I'm putting down. But listen, I'm reacting to what Cal had to say today. I would encourage you to go listen to the press conference in its entirety. Like if I played every single clip and then reacted, we would be here all morning. And I got stuff to do, but it was great stuff. And a lot of takeaways from a man who looks comfortable and relaxed and very, very confident in his team. And if I'm anybody in the SEC or anybody on that schedule, I'm probably looking around after seeing just the change in the body language of Cal, his demeanor right now, and going, oh, crap, because he's feeling good about what he has here. First and foremost, and most importantly, Cal handicapped the dunk contest for Friday. I was surprised he answered the question, but he did. He was asked if he had a pick for the dunk contest. He immediately went to Nick Pringle. Nick Pringle. And I kind of feel bad because of all the dudes who I was trying to consider in my mind. I didn't think about Nick. Not that he's not athletic, but I was like, okay, a dunk contest, can you do tricks with it, though? Like, what is the dunk package like? I know you can jump. I know you can throw it down with authority, but what are the tricks? And maybe he has some up his sleeve. But one thing that Cal did say about him is you can throw the ball above the square on the backboard. He's the guy that's going to go get it. So that was his pick. That's interesting. I don't know if I'm going to go there. I'm going to have to list him as a dark horse, though, because I just never think about a center that's going to be able to win that. But he also mentioned Malik Ewing, speaking of centers. He mentioned Carter Knox, who we just saw dunk in the little video that we played, TB, which I think does make a lot of sense, and Isaiah Sealy. was another dunker that he had in the mix there. So, okay. We're going to have to run a poll and see what the fans think and then see how it plays out. He also mentioned a 3-point shooting contest, by the way, which I guess I just completely overlooked that in the rundown of everything they were doing. I didn't know they were doing a 3-point shootout. So I don't know if like the women's team is going to be involved with that with them or what it's going to be, but they're going to be shooting threes. And I guess if you're, getting in front of thousands of people and performing a competition for 3-point shooting, then you got to feel at least decent about your ability to make them. At least I'm going to tell myself that. So I think that's probably a good sign. We'll see what it looks like. A couple personnel notes off the top from the presser. Kareem Rattel, we talked about it the other day, but he's going to be out long-term with a back injury. And Cal didn't specify. I have heard that it's going to be a couple months at least. I have also heard that it could be the whole season. And I guess both can be true if you think about it. Like if it is at least a couple months and, all of a sudden you're getting into January or something before you're cleared, then how long does it take you to get back into game shape and ready to play? So might be something that costs them the season here. Maybe we'll get some more details on that a little bit down the road, but wanted to share that with you. Also, Malik Ewan, Cal did confirm, so we are not crazy, that he was, out. He said he was out. I heard that he was out for a while and then limited, but for about 4 weeks with a shoulder injury, but that he's back full go now. So great. Lovely. The healthier you can be now, the better. We've seen like Aiden Kelly, for example, was in a boot in one of the recent team photos. So he said that, they've got some bumps, some bruises, a little bit nicked up here and there, but it's nothing like it used to be. Nothing like it was last year. He came right out and said what we said yesterday, which was basically they couldn't get anything done last year with the combination of like a short roster and injuries, but they are ahead of that schedule by a long way now, which is good. And, he talked about the first few days of practice and just kind of set the tone, establishing the culture and everything. So they've been focusing primarily on defense, but that today he was going to start picking things up offensively. So it was good. Some personnel notes that really stood out to me from Calipari's remarks. First, he cut it off about 15 minutes in. It was like 16 minutes or so. He had to get to practice, but nothing wound up getting, asked or said about Paolo or Elmer by way of, how they're doing or if one or both of them are redshirting or what that might look like. And I know some people are frustrated about that, but you got to think about the pecking order of questions. Like you only have a finite amount of time, and that's, if those are like guys 10 and 11 or whatever in your rotation, that's probably where they fall on the list of questions. So I'm sure that that we'll be able to get to that soon. I don't think there's going to be any media availability after primetime at the Palace on Friday. It's not like a standard game where you'd have coach and players and everything like that. Maybe you get a scrum or something, but my understanding is they're not really planning on doing anything for that. They probably will after Hot Springs next weekend, but we'll keep you posted on what that looks like. Now, interesting note here. John Calipari said that he has not really played Darius Acuff and DJ Wagner much together so far at practice because he really likes having them compete. Like he said, they're still in that competitive mode right now, but as of today, he was planning on starting to really mix that in. And that's good because they're going to start together in your backcourt. So, iron sharpens iron or whatever, but they do need to be developing on-floor chemistry there, and that's going to start picking up here. Remember, they've only been doing full practices now for about a week, and before that, it was like an hour of on-court time, that you would have like 4 days a week. So there wasn't a whole lot of live up and down up to that point anyway. On DJ Wagner, Cal said this is the best shape he's been in, the strongest that he's ever been, and the most confident that he's ever been. The best defense that he's ever played. So a lot of really, really high praise from Cal on the third-year guard. Praise his leadership, praise his work ethic, anything you could imagine that he could say in a positive light on DJ, he did. So that's good to hear. Nick Pringle, some interesting remarks from Cal on him. They're playing through him offensively. Never in a million years. You could tell me, I'll put it this way. You could tell me a million things about Nick Pringle, the basketball player, and playing your offense, running your offense through him is not one of those that I would have expected to hear. If that's true, that's great. They're forcing him to take more shots. They want him to be more of an offensive threat. He called him a leader. praised him for being vocal on the floor, talked about how well he moves his feet defensively, and said flat out, Nick Pringle is just better at everything than we thought he was. You love to hear it. In fact, he said that twice in a 15-minute press conference. He's just better at everything than we thought he was. That's good news. that makes me happy, man. It really does. Carter Knox, some of the key takeaways from what he had to say about him, really said that he's starting to define his game and said that he's shooting it a lot better, but that he's not just selling for threes. His exact quote here, and I went back and listened to it like 4 times to make sure I heard him right, but he said, don't just shoot threes, get to the rim because you're a car crash, and that's what makes you different. That is the first time I have heard the phrase car crash used as a compliment. But he's right, because when he gets downhill, Carter Knox, it's a bull in a china shop, and he's like it's like a pinball just bouncing off of things, and then he's finishing. How many AM1s did he get because of that? Car crash? Okay, sure. Maybe bumper cars. I don't know, but the point stands. But some good stuff there. He used Billy Richmond as an example, really, of how everybody needs to play. Pointed to his effort and doing the dirty work and being willing to sacrifice his body for the team, do all the little things, and said that's why he's a fan favorite. By any time he says the name Billy Richmond, the whole room lights up, and that's 100% true. 100% true. That's what endeared us to Billy. And I remember that happening right away. We saw some of it in scrimmages, but I'll never forget driving to Dallas with John Neighbors, and we were watching the Baylor game, and Arkansas was kind of getting punked there, and it was Billy. Remember, he threw the ball back at the Baylor guy and kind of got in his face a little bit, and I was thinking, oh wow, dude's got some stuff to him. It kind of galvanized Arkansas. It brought him back into the game. I remember driving my butt to Kansas City with Daniel Shee on Thanksgiving Day, and we were watching the Illinois game. Arkansas was getting punked early, and all of a sudden you got Billy Richmond getting steals, getting out in passing lanes, dunking it, setting heavy screens, diving on the floor for loose balls. Arkansas starts getting back into that ball game a little bit. He's the guy that can change momentum by himself with those effort plays, and they want everybody to play like that. By the way, he also said that Billy's shooting it a lot better now at practice because he stays in the gym afterwards getting reps. High praise. You want to see it translate under the lights when we get to watch him. Malik Thomas, it's so funny how, yesterday was talking about what do we want to see? What am I looking for at primetime at the Palace? And I said, man, I'm excited for you guys to see these freshmen, and I really hope that Leak gets on a heater. Like we saw him get on in the practice that we got to sit in at, because when he does, it's fun to watch. When he gets hot, he gets unconscious like some of those great basketball players do, and you just got to sit back and have your popcorn ready. And it was funny because Cal even said, apparently he had a practice here recently where the staff was walking out of there like, holy cow. And it was because he was on fire that day. He couldn't miss a shot. And like he said, your practices look a lot better when you're making shots, and you can never have too many guys who can get hot like that. And Leak's one of them for Arkansas. Another really interesting tidbit that came from this. And again, I encourage you to listen. But Cal said that the 4 returners he knew were coming back before the season was even over. Really? Even Carter. He said, he went through the process, maybe even too long, but we knew he wanted to come back. He expressed that to us, and we were prepared to take him back. Go get your feedback and then come on back. But he said that all 4 of those guys right away at the end of the year told him that they wanted to be back. And I love to hear that, because I remember the rumor mill on DJ hitting the portal started before the end of the regular season even. And apparently that wasn't a thing. And I know that there were some teams tampering trying to get Trevin to enter the portal, and he didn't do it, didn't budge. So that's cool, man. We talk a lot about the importance of having, the most returning production in the SEC back, off of a Sweet 16 team, and all that's very true. But when you hear it like that, it just makes you feel a little bit better. I'm sure all those guys got raises in the NIL department and all that. Like, that's part of it, but it wasn't like you had to talk them into it. I think that's what stands out the most to me. They wanted to be back. They wanted to do this. They made a concerted effort to come together and come back and play for this basketball team, as opposed to, I don't know, coach, man, so-and-so is offering me this, so you up the bag, I might consider it. No, none of that nonsense. They came to him right away and said, hey, we want to run this thing back. That makes me even more excited about the potential for this season. My favorite quote of the day from Cal He said, you can't lead the club from the tub. And what he's talking about, basically saying you have to be on the court practicing and producing if you're going to be a leader on the squad. And that's something they ran into last year because, he had some guys who came over with him from Kentucky, but they were younger, and DJ was a sophomore and Z was a sophomore, Adu was a junior, but I think that was not a shot at, but referencing Nelly and Jonas. And not that they weren't good leaders or couldn't be good leaders, but it's tough to be when you're hurt and you're not out there and you're not in practice and you're not involved. And I think that's something that hampered the team a little bit. And it's not their fault. You can't help when you get injured. But the point is, like, you brought those guys in, tons of NCAA tournament experience, tons of SEC experience, bunch of games under your belt, both seniors, and then you didn't have them. And so it kind of thrust other guys into different roles. So I thought that was interesting. Here's another quote for you from today. Don't let Chuck and Bo hear this. Okay. He said, if you demand a lot, you get a lot. And if you accept mediocrity, you're going to get it every single time. Boy, if that ain't the truth, I don't know what is. Well said, sir. A prophet, a wordsmith, John Calipari. He also said, and I thought this was interesting, I think about the differences in some of the sports around campus. Like, Cal said he doesn't pick captains before the season. He just doesn't do it. And basically he said, hey, game one, we're out there warming up. The refs are going to come to midcourt and ask for the captains. And whoever goes over there, it speaks for itself. He's absolutely right. That's a nice deviation from having 48 captains in one season and, a different group every week based on, where or who you're playing or whatever. No, let a couple guys naturally take charge there. The leaders are going to emerge. The team knows who it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be DJ Wagner, and then it's either going to be TB or Nick Pringle. Bookmark that. That's what it's going to be. But it could be any number of guys, really. But he's, so far so good. And again, like I remember saying this yesterday, but it's one of those situations where, okay, yeah, we're hearing all these great things, but the ball hasn't tipped off yet. Like, the minutes haven't been distributed yet. You haven't taken your first loss yet. Adversity hasn't hit yet. So what's this going to look like later? But you can only consider and evaluate what you've done so far. And you're checking all the boxes right now. Like Cal said, he's only had to raise his voice once or twice to this team since they got together. Coachable. They're mature. They're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And it kind of goes back to what I mentioned. I was told when we did our, like, what we're hearing, the buzz behind the scenes episode last week, was that this team seems to have a lot of self-accountability throughout the roster. They hold each other accountable. They don't need the coaches to do it for them. They got that buy-in to where they hold themselves to a high enough standard. They don't have to be coached up to it every day necessarily. It's just understood. It's part of the culture. It's ingrained. It's a winning formula. And isn't that a sight for sore eyes or a sound for deaf ears? Because we're talking about the exact opposite with the football program. That's why they got themselves in the situation that they're in, amongst other things. So good to hear some more positive things coming out of the basketball program. Something else that stuck with me. And we did the vaunted arenas list from Andy Katz yesterday that had Bud Walton Arena at 6. And we're saying, hey, that's cool. That's fair. It's cool to see Arkansas on this list. They're the only SEC venue on the list, but man, when Bud's really rocking, when it's at its best, it's actually higher than that. And I got to thinking about last season. We had so much discussion about early on, especially the crowds and the atmosphere, the lack of juice at times at Bud Walton Arena. The connections seemed to be off between the team and the fan base, and things ended well, but like there was a stretch where it was less than ideal and things just weren't clicking. I love the awareness and the adaptability with John Calipari, who has spent his week with the team walking around to fraternities. And by the way, he said he's hitting 5 or 6 sororities Friday just to try to fire up the students, to get them on board, to familiarize them with the team, to get out on campus, to be visible. He even said, I work for these students. Cal said that. John Calipari, the slick talking snake oil salesman that we've all heard about. He's got, $500 million worth of NBA salaries that he's coached that have come and gone, through his program. the most feared recruiter in college basketball history, an active Hall of Famer. And he has the awareness to say, as a college basketball head coach, yeah, I mean, I technically work for the students, and is walking his butt to all the frats and sororities, trying to get them fired up to get them down there to prime time at the Palace on Friday. I think that's cool. I think it's awesome. And I hope that it works for him. It's a good strategy. Last year, they didn't do a damn thing. And a lot of it was, I think it was twofold, if I'm being honest with you guys. Like, I think part of it was they were just overwhelmed with, their new surroundings and building a roster and putting the schedule together. They were behind on everything. It's like, man, we don't have time to market. We gotta get ready to play. And I think the other thing was they probably thought that just the Calipari effect in general would have more of a tangible impact right away. And it did, but maybe not to the degree they wanted. But now they're making a concerted effort here. And they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't excited about what they had and the possibilities here. And it's something that Cal said, like, he thinks that they are deeper this year, that they should be able to press and play faster. But he did deliver a message to the team basically saying, don't get it twisted just because we have more bodies out here. I will play 6 guys again, just like I did last year, if I only have 6 guys who are doing what I need them to do, which I liked. But, some interesting stuff from him. He talked about the schedule and was basically like, hey, yeah, our schedule, it's really hard. But guess what? I like my team. We're good. So let's go. Let's see what we're all about. We're not ducking any smoke here. Good. Just that quiet, subtle confidence and belief in his team, that relaxation, comfortable in his own skin. Those are things that I like to see, the little subtle body language cues that you get. And you're like, okay, all right, we'll see. Maybe this team is on to something. Well, we finally get a first up close and in-person look at them tomorrow. I can't wait. By the way, Arkansas is hosting a pro day on Sunday with all 30 teams represented. There's going to be over 50 NBA front office personnel, scouts, whatever, in the building at the practice facility for that. So that's going to be huge. Cal gave love to the women's team and Coach Music and said, hey, I'm here to help. And that's why he wants them to be recognized and part of the festivities on Friday night. It was a really good press conference, and it was kind of like a breath of fresh air. Wasn't tumultuous, wasn't awkward, and it felt genuine. He said a lot of good things there. So Cal gets it, guys, and he's fired up for this team. He's fired up about Friday, and he had a message to the fan base about it, and I want to share it right here with you before we move on. So here you go.
Folks, prime time at the Palace this Friday. 8 o'clock will be when you'll get to see my team. Come early, come excited. We want this to be an event that's marked on every calendar every year. 5,000 t-shirts being given away. Students taking half-court shots for 20,000 scholarships. But if you haven't had tickets, you haven't been able to see this team in person, scan that QR code and get your tickets.
There you have it. Shout out to Coach Cal for jumping on the QR code bandwagon. We've been using those recently. He's catching up to the times. Remember when he did his intro press conference and somebody asked him about changing his Twitter @ and he was like, what? What are you talking about? I don't know what that is. Remember when he uploaded his resignation video from Kentucky? And it was so grainy and it was like he recorded in Windows 98 or whatever, and they had to like redo it and have it sent out in a like in a higher speed. The whole thing was crazy. It's hilarious. Hilarious, man. Now he's talking about QR codes and everything else. He's catching up to the times, man. Coach Cal's good for it. He's hip to it. Speaking of QR codes, because we mess with them around here. If you are in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, you know that you can have Walter Christmas Lighting come out and install and set up your house with professional Halloween and Christmas lighting like you've never seen before. If you want to get jazzed up for the holidays, you want to wow everybody in the neighborhood by lighting up your home, but you don't have the time or you don't have the resources to do it yourself, hit up Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. They'll come take care of you. All the materials, any color, any pattern. They do all the installation, all the maintenance, and all the takedowns in January. If you sign up for Halloween lights, you will also get your Christmas lights for 50% off. Just text our guy Brett for a free estimate today. 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by, scanning that QR code right there on your screen. Okay. So just a couple of recruiting updates, and then we'll get out of here for the day. Abdou Toure, that's, everybody wants to know what's going on there. Well, I mean, me too. But the intel, honestly, has gone 0 dark 30 over the course of the last 36 hours or so, which when that happens and you have a decision date, like that typically means that the decision is in. And sometimes it's a matter of the family kind of waiting to let the schools know, or the schools have been notified and they're doing their diligence and keeping it quiet and respecting the decision. Sometimes schools don't get notified and you're just kind of waiting on pins and needles to see what happens until the very end there. So the intel is going to start trickling out here soon enough. It never fails. It always happens within the 24-hour mark, and we're just about there. So we'll have a pretty good feel for what's going on, but I'm still not hearing much different than what I had been. And I know that weird computer generated crystal ball went in for Providence or whatever, but we've talked through that by now. And I really do believe at the end of the day, it comes down to the priority list and the salary cap, right? The budget. That's where you're at. Because if Arkansas wants to win this race and it comes down to NIL, they're going to win it. But if they value somebody else higher or it gets to a price point that they don't want to go to because they don't want to dip into the funds for somebody else or risk it, whatever, then they won't. And it sounds like a cop-out to where it's like, oh, you just don't want to admit that Cal's getting lockered by Kim English or something if he goes to Providence. No, it's not that at all. It's just true, man. That's just the way that it is. So we'll continue to check on it and keep an eye on it. But we do know that Providence did an in-home visit with Abdou on Monday. And he also has a poll up on his Instagram right now about, like, where should I commit? Where am I going? And if Razorback fans want to infiltrate that, I think that'd be a good thing. UConn is winning that poll in a landslide right now, and he ain't going there. So there's that. Checked around on Caleb Holt to see, we know Cal went and made a visit down there. See how much it moved the needle. Did it change things? We got more momentum going on. What's the deal? And I'm just being honest here, that the feedback that I've received on multiple fronts, it's pretty consensus. Like, all this stuff matters. And there are different things about different schools that really appeal to him and his camp. And that includes Arkansas. There are a lot of things they really, really like about Arkansas. And yes, flying down there and seeing him and everything, that leaves an impression, no doubt about it. But the popular belief, at least from what I've gathered, is that, of his real contenders, which I think the Hogs do qualify there, the biggest bag is probably going to win in the end with this one. So if that is true, does it make you feel better or worse? Because we know Cal, usually he's not crazy about those bidding wars, right? He said it himself, but he's also one of few coaches willing to spend big on high school players this cycle, with a lot of the others pinching pennies until portal season. So I think you could look at it from either standpoint there. It's interesting that, two of these recruits right here, the first two guys that we talked about that Arkansas is heavily involved with, and, one's getting ready to commit on Friday somewhere. And at the end of the day, all these things have happened. In-home visits, on-campus visits, whatever, you name it. And here we are at this point. What are we talking about? NIL, man. Money. Money talks. That's where we're at. Jordan Smith Jr. visiting Duke this weekend. It's per Adam Zagoria. So, okay, we knew he was going to go there eventually. He's been on that campus before. He's going back. So a trip to see the perceived favorites, Arkansas's top competition. So what do we look for coming out of this? Does he shut it down after this and set a commitment date? Does he, does Coach Cal fly out to see him early next week to try to recapture some momentum? Does he honor the Kentucky visit that he has on the books for next weekend? Does he still hold off on a commitment until spring? So we'll continue to keep an eye on that for sure. And then Baba Oladotun is he's got that Georgetown visit coming up this weekend. Did a little bit more checking around on him, and it's still about the same. Arkansas is kind of that team lurking in the background where people are like, don't count them out here. Like, let's see how it all plays out. They get him on campus for that visit. Arkansas is going to be a real player here. Yeah, I believe that. As of right now, of the places that he's visited or visiting, Maryland seems to have the most momentum, and I'm just gonna stand on what I said. I just don't think that he's going to wind up playing for Buzz Williams, given all the options that he's going to have there. And I'd say no disrespect, but I know it sounds disrespectful. I just don't think it's going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. Caleb Holt, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned it when we were talking about him. He's visiting Arizona this weekend. And at that point, I think Auburn might be the last trip that he has left. I'm trying to think. But hope we get a visit list for Primetime at the Palace starting tomorrow, like that we can have one that we can share with you going into the event. I know that they're going to have some kids come in there. There's one in particular. I don't want to throw the name out there because we kind of have it in confidence. A class of 2027 target that already has a Razorback offer that they're in a really good spot with has the potential to be in here for Primetime at the Palace. But as of the 2026 guys, I'm not really sure who would fall into that category. But yeah, Baba's going elsewhere this week. Maybe the Twins. I need to check on them and see what they got going on this weekend, but that would be a cool one if you have them there. So we'll check on it and we'll see what we can provide you with tomorrow. But anyway, going to get out of here for the day. Appreciate everybody for tuning in as always. Remember, we will have a normal Pod at the Palace episode tomorrow morning, and then we'll be going live from Goat Lab Red out at Oak Plaza on North Garland in Fayetteville about 6 o'clock, just to do a little preview, have a little bit of fun, do some trivia, and just get you hyped up and set up before we go down to Primetime at the Palace at Bud Walton for an 8 p.m. tip-off. And then we'll see exactly what the event looks like. If they do like a full, legitimate scrimmage that is not, gimmicky and everything like that, like if there's something to really take away from it, I'll probably come home and go live for a half hour or so, and we can talk about it and get into some questions and everything like that. Worst case scenario, if it's just, more of like an exhibition type deal and it's just a little bit of fun, I'll probably do a little, Pod at the Palace record. I might do it out in my front yard out there in the Halloween lights or something and get it uploaded for you. Either way, we'll have some post Primetime at the Palace content for you as well. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe where you need to get subscribed. Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, turn those notifications on. It's a good time to do that. And find us wherever you find your podcast, Apple, Amazon, Spotify. We also have a video element over there now at the Pod at the Palace that you might want to check out, which is pretty cool as well. I'm out of here. We'll see you guys in the morning. Everybody have a good day. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas, the Pod at the Palace.